Hey, boys and girls, I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. I know you got a long weekend, and today is our e-learning day. We are going to be covering the same skills that we covered last week for reading. And one of the skills that we focused on was the type of genre we actually studied was actually folk tales. And a folk tale is a type of a story that can be passed down from either generation to generation or from person to person. It normally has things to do with people's culture that they're discussing. And one of the things I love about folktale is that sometimes they're different depending on who is telling the story. My family likes to play a game at Christmas, and we all sit in a big circle around the living room, and somebody starts by giving a sentence to the first person, and it travels all the way around the room and has to come back to that beginning person. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of children in our family, so you can imagine it gets twisted all kind of ways. Like if the sentence, I think last year our sentence was Santa came down the chimney at 3 o'clock in the morning, and by the time it came back to the beginning person, it changed to Santa Claus is going to bring me a cookie tomorrow, which was completely not the story. So it changed a little bit. It still was about Santa, and of course it was an interesting story, but it always changes just a little bit going person to person. And that's how a folk tale changes. It gets switched a little bit. Sometimes the characters may change. Sometimes the story may have different instances that happen, but the lesson is always the same. And that brings us to what we're studying and reading this week. We are studying on what a theme is. And theme is similar to main idea, but it is about the lesson that is learned from your story. Almost every folktale, you can find some kind of a lesson that you can take away. If we think about our story last week, we talked about Anansi and how Anansi learns a lesson. He learns that tricking people is unkind and that they can play tricks back, and that when we work together, we can accomplish more. So what we're going to do today is we're going to read a story, one of my favorite stories that is a folk tale. Let me grab it. This one is Stone Soup, and it's actually in our reading books, and it's about 3 little boys. Well, one of the changes for this one, this is about 1 little boy who is going to be in our story. I hope you can see that. We're going to read this together, and then I want you to be thinking what the theme could have been, what the lesson is that we can take away from this story. And we already talked about this is a folk tale. It tells me on the back this is a folk tale, so it would be different, told by different people, probably passed from person to person at some point in time, and can have fictional characters, but we can learn a lesson. So let's see if we can find what that lesson is, and I'll try to show you the pictures. I hope I can show you good. A young man was walking. He walked and he walked and he walked all night. And he walked all day. He was tired and he was hungry. And if we look at his clothes, it kind of looks like maybe he's poor, doesn't have a lot. At last he came to a big house. "What a fine house," he said. "There will be plenty of food for me here." So he knocked on the door. A little old lady opened it. "Oh, good lady," said the young man, "I am very hungry. Could you give me something to eat?" "I have nothing to give you," said the little old lady. "I have nothing in this house. I have nothing in the garden." And she began to close the door on him. "Stop," said the young man. "If you will not give me something to eat, will you at least give me a stone?" Now, if I'm hungry, I'm not looking for a rock. Are you? "A stone?" said the little old lady. "What will you do with a stone? You can't eat a stone." "Ah," said the young man, "I can make soup from a stone." Now the little old lady had never heard of that. Make soup from a stone? Well, fancy that. "There are stones in the road," said the little old lady. The young man picked up a round gray stone. "This stone will make wonderful soup," he said. "Now go and get me a pot." You think she'll go get the pot? The little old lady went and got a pot. "Fill the pot with water and then put it on the fire," the young man said. Now let's look at what he's doing while she's filling it with water. The little old lady did as she was told, and soon the water was bubbling in the pot. The young man put the round gray stone into that pot. "Now we will wait for this stone to cook into soup," he said. The pot bubbled, and after a while the little old lady said, "This soup is cooking fast." "It is cooking really fast now," said the hungry man. "But it could cook so much faster if we had some onions." So the little old lady went to the garden, and she went and grabbed some yellow onions. Into the pot went those yellow onions with the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while, the little old lady said, "This soup smells good." "It smells good now," said the hungry young man, "but, oh, it would smell so much better if we had some carrots." Oh, I can't get my page turned. So the little old lady went out to the garden and pulled up all of the carrots that she could carry. And into the pot went the long and thin carrots with yellow onions and a round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled, and after a while the little old lady said, "This soup tastes really good, I bet." "Oh, it tastes good now," said the hungry young man, "but it would taste so much better if we had some beef bones." So the little old lady went to get some juicy beef bones. Into the pot went the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while the little old lady said, "This soup is fit for a prince." "Oh, it's fit for a prince now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be fit for a king if it only had a bit of pepper and a handful of salt." So the little old lady got the pepper and the salt, and into the pot went that bit of pepper and that handful of salt, with the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and that round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said that little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled and bubbled. After a while the little old lady said, "This soup is a little too thin." It is too thin now," said the hungry young man, "but it would be nice and thick if we had some butter and barley." So the little old lady went and grabbed some butter and barley. Into the pot went the butter and barley with a bit of pepper and salt and the juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and that round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." The pot bubbled, and after a while the little old lady tasted of the soup again. "That is good soup," she said. "Yes," said the hungry young man, "this soup now is fit for a king, and now we will eat it." "Stop," said the little old lady. "This soup is indeed fit for a king. Now I will set a table that is fit for a king." So she took out her very best tablecloth that she could find and all of her best dishes. Then the little old lady and the hungry young man ate all of the soup that was made with butter and barley and the bit of pepper and handful of salt and those juicy beef bones and the long thin carrots and the yellow onions and the round gray stone. "Soup from a stone," said the little old lady. "Fancy that." "Now, I must be on my way," said the young man. And he took the stone out of the pot and he put it into his pocket. "Why are you taking that stone?" said the little old lady. "Well," said the young man, "this stone hasn't even cooked enough. I'm going to have to cook it some more tomorrow." And the young man said goodbye. He walked on down the road. He walked and he walked and he walked. "What a fine supper I'm going to have tomorrow," he said to himself. "Soup from a stone. Fancy that." So, this is a cute little story, and I think it's really got a couple of lessons we could probably learn from it. One of the main lessons that I enjoy about stone soup is that when we started out and we met the little old lady, it looks like she has nothing to offer. It looks like she has nothing to give, nothing to contribute. And then when he gets inside the house and starts cooking his stone soup, all of a sudden she had all of these things that she could have contributed. And had she not been willing to contribute those things, she would have missed out on something wonderful. They made a wonderful stew or a wonderful soup that she wouldn't have even gotten to try had she not contributed some of those items, or technically all of those items, to the soup. So I think the lesson that we can learn that I enjoy the most from this story is that if you can give, that it's just best to go ahead and give so that we all can feel better, we all can get something wonderful, and you shouldn't give just to get something good. But look what she would have missed out on. She enjoyed that soup. And I think one of the things about it, she didn't have to eat alone. She was a little old lady that was living all by herself, and she got to eat dinner at a nice table. She fixed it all nice and pretty, and she got to eat with a friend that day. So I think that's a cute little theme we can find. Now, it's time for you to do your assignment for today. On iExcel, you're going to get on and remember, we go through iExcel. Instead of clicking the tab, what you're going to do, you'll hit the Google home screen, and then you're going to go to that ECS student bookmarks. You'll go down that and you'll see Schoology. When you click on Schoology, go to Reading, and there is iExcel. You're going to go to iExcel. I know you know how to do it, just in case you have forgotten. We're going to go to iExcel, and you have one starred skill. That's all you have to do for today's assignment. You'll log on. It's on theme. Now, this is reading, and reading starred skills in iExcel sometimes are a little bit tougher, so you might miss a couple. Don't stress out. Just read the Folktales. I think they're all on Folktales. And what I want you to do, read it, find the theme. What's the lesson we can take away from our story, okay? Once you have found that theme and you have answered all those questions, if you answer all of them correctly, you'll earn a medal. But today I don't want you to stress over if you can't earn that medal. I just want you to practice trying to find the theme. If you have practiced for 10 minutes and you still have not earned your medal, that's okay. That means there's something we need to look at together. So on Wednesday, when you come back into the classroom, we will look at that together and see why we were missing some of those. So parents, if you're watching this too, please don't make them practice longer than maybe 10 minutes. That means if it makes them keep practicing after that 10-minute mark, probably means there's something we need to look at one-on-one, and I'll be able to see that when I come into the classroom on Wednesday, what they were struggling with. So don't stress out if they don't earn that little medal or their sticker at the end of that skill that they're practicing. So that is your assignment for today. That's all you have to do. Make sure you've watched the video, which of course, if you're seeing me now, you've watched the video, and then hop on iExcel and practice that starred skill for 10 minutes. If you are wanting something extra to do, you can log on to multiplication.com and practice those multiplication facts. In Google Classroom, I also left those videos of the songs we've been learning. If you'd like to show your parents how good y'all have gotten at those, you're welcome to do that too. And then Epic is also on there if you're wanting a story to read. Maybe you can find a folk tale and tell me what the theme is next week, okay? I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I miss you all and can't wait to see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.